In this video, I'm going to be talking about Unit 3, Topic 5, Fertilization and Embryonic Development. Alright, let's begin by reviewing a little bit of the female reproductive system. So right now I'm drawing the birth canal or the vagina, and that just goes up into the cervix, which is the muscular opening to the uterus. Then we have the oviducts or the fallopian tubes, which is where fertilization happens, and they both extend out to meet the ovaries, where we have oogenesis occurring to give us the secondary oocyte that we need for fertilization. So when the luteinizing hormone causes the secondary oocyte to burst from the ovary into the oviduct, we have what is called ovulation. We have the egg surrounded by two protective layers, the zona pellucida and the corona radiata, which are the little balls around the egg. We also have the nucleus, which I drew here as a heart. Now that the egg's outside of the ovary, it's exposed to thousands of sperms, but only one can fertilize the egg. The acrosome on the sperm contains enzymes that break down the protective barriers of the egg. When the sperm manages to fight its way through the barriers and reaches inside of the ovum, we have fertilization, and the egg is now called a zygote. Inside, we have the exchange of genetic material through the process of meiosis. After fertilization, the zygote undergoes cleavage, which are many cell divisions but no growth. The zygote remains the same size throughout this process, but the number of cells inside increases. It divides into 2 cells, 4 cells, 8 cells, 16, 32, and so on and so forth. After cleavage, we have a solid ball of cells composed of stem cells or undifferentiated cells, called the medulla. A cavity opens up in the medulla, and we now have a blastula, also known as a blastocyst in humans. The outer layer of the blastocyst is called the trophoblast, and this will later develop into the chorion, then the placenta. The inner cell mass will develop into the embryo, and the blastopore is an indentation on the blastula which allows for gastrulation. After that, the blastula implants on the endometrium inside the uterus. Then we have gastrulation, which is when the inner layer of the blastula divides into 3 germ layers, or embryonic tissues. The ectoderm forms the skin, the lining of the mouth and nose, and the nervous system, including the brain and spinal cord. The endoderm forms the liver, the pancreas, and the inner layer of the digestive and respiratory tracts. Between those 2 layers is the mesoderm, which forms the muscle, skeleton, gonads, kidneys, and the outer layer of the digestive and respiratory tracts, as well as the circulatory system. After gastrulation, we now have a gastrula. The gastrula then forms the extraembryonic membranes. The outer membrane of the embryo is the chorion. It secretes HCG to maintain the corpus luteum. It's also the fetal contribution to the placenta. The amnion is the inner membrane that encloses the embryo. It contains the amniotic fluid, which protects the embryo from trauma, temperature fluctuations, and infection. The allantois becomes the umbilical cord, and this carries the blood between the embryo and the placenta. It mostly degenerates in the second trimester. The yolk sac provides nutrients and forms blood cells. We then have neurulation, which is the formation of the neural tube and develops into the brain and spinal cord. Organogenesis is the formation of the organ systems, and morphogenesis is the formation of body shape. The placenta then secretes estrogen and progesterone, which inhibits follicle growth and ovulation. And that is how we turn into cute babies and even cuter adults.